welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Cadence of Hyrule. So Cadence of Hyrule is a crossover between the rhythm-based dungeon crawler Crypt and the Necrodancer and the classic Legend of Zelda. The story follows Cadence, the main character of Crypt and the Necrodancer, as she ends up in Hyrule, and when she gets to Hyrule, there's a guy named Octavo, the bad guy, who takes over Hyrule with this magical loot, and he puts Zelda and Link to sleep. So now you must play as Zelda or Link and go across Hyrule and stop Octavo, the bad guy. So the story of Cadence of Hyrule is super light, and it does a pretty solid job of setting up the adventure. I will say the ending and the conclusion is very not my favorite. It does open a lot for more crossovers, so I thought that was cool, but like as an overall narrative, it was very lame. Not that impressive. I was very underwhelmed with the story, and I guess you could say the story's not that important, which is great, but then what's the point of it, you know? I honestly forgot what was going on most of the time. There were so many, what was I doing? I don't remember. There was a lot of that, which is never good. And it was unfortunate because, like I said, it does a pretty good job of setting it up. There was just a lot of everything in between where it's just like, huh? Oh yeah, that's right. It's just easily forgettable. The gameplay, on the other hand, though, is incredible. I really enjoyed the gameplay as it combines a lot of what makes Zelda awesome and what was awesome about Crypt and the Necrodancer. I loved exploring Hyrule with this rhythm-based, grid-like jumping all over the place, and it was cool seeing the Zelda enemies just moving rhythmically and dancing and jumping around and throwing stuff at you in time with the rhythm and the music of awesome Zelda stuff, and it was great. I really enjoyed just exploring Hyrule. There was a lot to see and a lot to do, which I thought was awesome. The small puzzles you come across are also great too. I really loved there was these puzzles that was kind of like a Simon Says, there'd be notes on the ground and it would show you a specific Zelda tune and then you had to go through and jump on them in time with the music to make that song. I thought that was awesome. I actually kind of wish there was more of those because those were some of my favorite parts. This game is very loyal to The Legend of Zelda. There's a lot of locations and places and characters and things from The Legend of Zelda series, and it just combines the gameplay of Crypt and the Necrodancer, which I think is a very solid combination. They threw in everything that made Zelda great and they also splashed in a lot of what made Crypt and the Necrodancer very awesome. There's a lot of random dungeons that you can find throughout, and they're all very rhythm based, and sometimes you even need an item that you don't even have yet, so you have to go and find an item or complete a dungeon to get a specific item and then come back and get an upgrade or something like that. So the main goal of the game is to go across these 4 different dungeons and collect the 4 instruments to stop Octavo, the bad guy, in case you forgot, because I know I did. So you have to go to these 4 dungeons that are huge randomly generated dungeons, which was awesome, because they were so fun to explore, and the end goal was really cool to find these bosses. And I really loved the bosses, as they were each kind of a cool twist on some Zelda main enemy, but it had some musically instrument thing thrown into it that made it very cool and kind of very charming. It was fun. I loved the boss fights, and those were my favorite parts. And I will say, you are going to die a lot if you don't know what you're doing. And speaking of dying, the dying consequences are actually pretty harsh. You lose all your items and weapons, except for like your main ones, but you lose all your rupees and everything like that. So you basically have to jump in completely fresh, and it's kind of frustrating because it's like, no, I had such good stuff, but it's a consequence of dying, so try not to die. Dying was honestly very stressful, and in a game that requires a lot of focus, it was sometimes hard to stay focused because you were so worried about dying, but then also you were so worried about dying you had to stay focused, and it was so crazy. It gets really stressful at times, but it's really fun as it just keeps you on your toes and it keeps you working and improving as you go along. Like I said, at the end of the dungeons, you come across a boss fight, and these boss fights were my favorite parts of this game. Like I said, I loved the combination of musical instruments and these Zelda enemy types, and it was really cool, and I was really hoping, I came up with some of my own, and I was like, hopefully I get to see that, but unfortunately we didn't, so I'll wait until later to see some debongos hanging around. I finished Crypt and the Necrodancer about 6 to 7 hours, and I honestly wanted to jump right back in because exploring the world was just tons of fun. I loved all the secrets and exploring and the puzzles, and it was all really fun. And stopping Octavo, the bad guy, in case you forgot, was fine. Like I said, the ending wasn't my totally favorite, but it was fine because there's also tons of DLC. There's one that even kind of flips it, and you can play as Octavo, the bad guy, in case you forgot, because I know I did. Or you can play as Skull Kid and go through and collect different masks and go on Skull Kid's own little quest. And I thought that one was great. It was tons of fun. It was just really cool to have a little bit more content into this already pretty solid game. I will say, though, the Octavo, the bad guy, in case you forgot, because I know I did, his DLC was not as interesting as Skull Kid because he played very similar to Link and Zelda and Cadence from the main game, whereas Skull Kid played completely different as he used these different masks with different abilities, so it was cool. And I'd definitely say Octavo, the bad guy, was not my most favorite. Zelda's music is some of my favorite music in all of gaming, and I thought this game did a great job of remixing it to this cool synth hard rock sound that worked really well with the theme and just the overall charm of the game. It was still fun, and I love the Zelda music, and you can never go wrong with Zelda music, am I right? In the end, this game was pretty good. It wasn't my most favorite thing ever, mostly just because the story was super lame and underwhelming, and there was a lot of potential to do something cool, but they kind of really didn't, and just kind of felt wasted. And Octavo, the bad guy, in case you forgot, it was pretty forgettable. The School Kid DLC was pretty neat, and if you like Zelda or if you like Crypt of the Necrodancer, this is totally worth checking out because it's a fun rhythm-based Zelda dungeon crawler experience that I thought was pretty rad. Not the best thing ever, but not terrible either. It was pretty enjoyable and just worth checking out. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know what you think about Cadence of Hyrule down in the comments below. And if you want to help me out, hit like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified every time I post a new video. That would be awesome. And if you want to see more of me, I'm over on Twitch at twitch.tv/GameFruitThoughts. I'm streaming there all the time, and I would love to see you there. Thanks again for watching the video. Don't forget that the key to success is succeeding, and we'll catch you guys next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.